Hey, what's up, guys? So in this video, I'm going to show you how I will start a $2 million contractor in just 1 year with only $100 in a truck. And if I fail to build that $2 million contractor in 1 year, I'll donate $100 grand to Operation Underground Railroad to help fight trafficking children. And if I succeed, I'll donate 10% of the company that I build to OUR and give another 35% of the company to my first hires. And so for those of you who may not know me, my name is Boland. I'm the founder of Remodel Commanders. I have helped build over 32 multi-million-dollar residential general contractors as either an owner, an executive, a partner, or consultant, leveraging systems I learned from my first general contract that almost bankrupted me because I underbid work, I mismanaged employees, failed to build a brand, and I just didn't know how to sell. Yet I've seen a lot of companies like this fail to get off the ground. And mostly it's just from guys that, straight up, they don't know what the fuck they're doing. But in this video, you're getting the blueprint and the sauce that no one else in YouTube would ever share. And I make these videos because I've learned all these lessons the hard way, and I don't want you to do the same. And in this video, like always, I have nothing to sell you. So the biggest mistake I see residential general contractors make is confusing their product with the business. Guys, we are not in the building business. We are in, that's for the trades. We are in the project management and risk control business. The best residential contractors I see approach remodeling or home construction like a hedge fund manager who deploys capital seeking an 80% return on his money and practices risk control to ensure the target is hit with consistency. The second biggest mistake I see new GCs make is keeping too many trades on W-2 payroll. Guys, listen to me. W-2 equals infinite risk. We define and control our risk through subcontracts down to the trades. And the third biggest mistake I see remodelers and home builders make is hiring in-house design too early. Just like general contractors in the trades, guys, the best craftsmen tend to work for themselves. Designers are no different. And until you're over $4 million in annual revenue, you're not going to be able to afford the $150K a year that you'll need to hire A-level talent. Because without that A-level award-winning hyper-productive talent, you can't justify a premium, and you sentence yourself to Death Valley between 2 and 4 million, where 96% of contractors die every 10 years because they do not understand this crucial concept. So we need 3 ingredients to get off the ground in this order. We need the entrepreneur, we need the manager, we need the technicians. The entrepreneur, that's your rainmaker. That's the one that's the guy that's going out and getting the business. That is you, ideally. Then there's the manager. This is the project manager. He's the one that's pushing the schedule and managing quality and managing the logistics of the material. And lastly, then you need the technicians. And if you're doing this right, you subcontract down to the trades as your technicians in order to control your risk. So first things first, when I start up January 22nd, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sell my truck. It's a 2008 Range Rover worth maybe 12K. I don't even have a driver's license, guys. So what do I need a truck for anyway? Ask yourself, which is gonna make me $1 million faster? A truck or a marketing, sales, operations, and recruiting platform? And I'm gonna use the proceeds from selling that truck to build out my marketing, sales, operations, and recruiting platforms across 2 brands with 2 different websites. One's gonna be a handyman, the other is gonna be a luxury design build general contractor. And so that's phase 1. Now let's move into phase 2. This is landing your first deal. And so with the websites up, the first thing I'm going to do is turn on Google local services ads. And I'm going to spend about $1,500 a month to turn 60 to 80K of work, of handyman level work, at a 55% gross margin, just like my partner Phil Green over at Rapid Repair Pro in St. Louis. At the same time, I'm going to research every realtor and designer's email in my target market and start pitching them cold emails looking for a networking coffee meeting. And I'm going to craft offers for both categories, presenting them with ways I can help their business and start building alliances while my Google local services marketing turns up our first week's worth of work in about 5 days worth of running the ads. I'll then push that work 3 weeks out and start building a backlog. And then I'm going to turn on Indeed ads to recruit my first senior handyman. I'm looking for a guy who's in his mid 40s and he's burned out. running his own business, barely making ends meet. I'm going to put him on a $70K base salary with about a $500 bonus for every 100% scheduled attendance at work. Meaning, there's 20 working days in the month and he's scheduled for 19 because he took a sick day, and he shows up for 19, he gets that $500 bonus. And then I'm also going to give him another $1,000 per month for hitting his estimated project deadlines. In other words, if we estimate a job to take 4 hours and he gets it done in 3, great. If he gets it done in 5, not great. Okay, so he's got to hit all of his estimated project deadlines. And so that's going to hit a target of $88,000 per year of target salary. Compare that to your average remodeler who barely on average takes home $80,000 per year. So this guy's going to make 10% more without marketing, without insurance, without sales, without having to deal with employees, without having to deal with payroll, without having to deal with, I said insurance, but dealing with fucking customers. Right? So making better money, just building cool shit. And I'm going to hire him the week before the first week of work starts. The second, I'll actually hire a second guy who will be a helper that I'm targeting at about $58,000 a year, which comes out to about $28 per hour with the same performance incentives and a $40,000 base. And I'm also going to pay the senior handyman a marketing license fee to slap my magnets on his truck during working hours that is equal to his truck payment. In other words, I will make his truck payment for him. And I'm also going to pay his cell phone bill. And I'm going to give him a gas card and a $200 a month tool allowance. Turnkey $1 million handyman business. Guys, this brings up a really critical point. The most important asset you can build at this stage is an investor's mindset. We need cash flow. Every dollar we spend must come back with more than $1, and within 30 days from spending it to stay in front of the credit card bill, which then creates an infinite money glitch that completely eliminates the number one constraint you think you have, which is cash. And so now, guys, the biggest mistake I see at this stage are general contractors who don't advertise smartly or advertise at all. We must get the high margin work to afford the A-level talent so we aren't babysitting grown men all day for mediocre profits instead of building our businesses. But to do that, we must build an airtight sales process before beginning to spend dollars on that marketing. And this, for me, follows a 5-part framework. We're first going to clarify why they reached out. JTNBA, that stands for job scope, timeline, need behind the timeline. In other words, why are they doing the project? The budget for the project and the authority to make a decision. In other words, how many other people are involved that he has to talk to? Wife, partner, spiritual advisor, I don't know, right? The second stage, and I got this from Alex Hormozy, label them with a problem. Okay, my favorite problem to label them with is contractor games. Because according to a study done by House, over 70% of home improvement projects go over budget and past deadline. And that's due to one of 2 reasons, either an incomplete, inaccurate design or an unscrupulous contractor playing contractor games who is giving the lowest credible bid they think the homeowner is going to take so that they can change order them to death afterwards. That's contractor games. They have a problem. And so now we're going to overview past solutions and why they didn't work. Because your average homeowner only remodels 1.7 times in their life, they've never done this before. So we have to show them past solutions that the industry has created to solve the problem of inaccurate designs and contractor games. And so we're going to go through the pros and cons of working with an independent designer or architect. Namely, they don't know what construction fucking costs, right? So they're only incentivized to draw pretty pictures because that's how they advance their career so they can win awards and charge more money per hour. That is completely misaligned with the homeowner who just wants the best value for their dollar and for a project that is drawn to actually be feasible for their budget. So no, designer architects don't work by themselves. And then we talk about the pros and cons of working with a design build group. The biggest con being it's a big black box. You're signing a blank check saying, you're going to make this design. Here's my pot of money. And then we're going to go build it. There's absolutely zero transparency into what things cost or whether you're getting the most value for your dollar. Again, not the best fit for a discerning homeowner. And then we'll talk about working with traditional contractors and how none of them are actually trained. Few are trained to produce airtight designs with elevations and setbacks and site plans and estimates down to the box of screws. Because unless they can do that, it's not an airtight design and we're gonna run into problems. So once we've overviewed the past solutions, we now sell them the vacation, not the journey. Too many of us beat our chests about years in business and the number of reviews we have. That's important. We got to understand the value equation, which is value equals the dream times the likelihood of you fulfilling on your promise divided by the time to get there and the hassle of sacrifice of having to work with you, right? So when we're selling the vacation, yes, we're going to talk about our reviews, but amateurs talk about the top line, which is the dream. In other words, the quality of the design, quality of the build. That's probably a better way to think about it for contractors, is value equals quality times the promise of getting the likelihood of the promise you'll deliver the quality divided by time times sacrifice and hassle. Listen, when you're dealing with luxury people who pay a premium, they expect quality. It's not a big fucking deal that you build with quality. That's the bare minimum to compete. And having reviews is a lagging indicator that points to what you've done, but has absolutely no bearing on what you will do. Everybody has a bad day. And the only way here's the great big secret, that promise of quality, when you show the reviews with processes are a leading indicator of quality. When you're able to show that process that you adhere to, that explains the reviews, that explains the quality, and leads credence to the fact that you're likely to repeat the same outcomes as what they saw in the reviews. Okay, so going below, timeline, okay? Without a strong process, we are going to waste time. It is a fact. Without a firm design process to keep the designer and the architect from playing designer-architect games and allowing the homeowner to jump on their carousel and go round and round and round, changing their time and their budgets, which that's a Valerism, but guys, bear with me. We've all had that homeowner that just keeps changing their mind right before we go to contract. I've seen additions take a year to design, okay? We need to get that down to 90 days, right? And so the timeline of the build, without that airtight design and also having an airtight project management process with airtight scheduling, we are going to waste time in build, which elongates the time the homeowners have to live in a war zone in their homes or live in an Airbnb. Either way, the longer that takes, the more irritated they get with you, even if you do build with quality. So we need to minimize that as much as possible in our sales pitch. And then sacrifice and hassle, right? The average contractor says, hey, go out, pick out what you want, pay for it, I'll pick it up, or rather have it delivered and I'll build it, right? Bad experience for the homeowner. You're dumping the hardest part of the project, which is determining the materials, onto the homeowner because you yourself don't know how to manage design and you yourself don't know how to manage your money to be able to float the purchases because you didn't structure the contracts in such a way that you could afford to purchase the material ahead of time. Bad idea. Okay, so on the experience time frame, right? Listen, there's always going to be problems in build, but how you react to those problems and how you communicate with the homeowner is going to be the difference between a 5-star review and an elated client who tells all their friends and family that you're worth every penny, even though you're expensive, versus the average contractor who has to compete on price and quote unquote quality, not knowing that quality is the bare minimum. So sell the vacation, not the journey. Explain to the homeowner how you can guarantee to have a shorter timeline than anybody else. Show the homeowner how you can guarantee that your experience is going to be more delightful than everybody else through process. Okay. Then you drop the price and you explain away their concerns. 90% of the time, they're going to say, I need to think about it. Expect no. No is the job. If all we did was clarify, label, overview, and sell, and then most of them said yes, there wouldn't be any need for a sales guy. There wouldn't even be need for you as a general contractor. It would just happen magically out of thin air. Okay. No is the job. Expect them to say, I need to think about it. And don't be a cringy dick that says, well, what do you need to think about? Like, no. Field a meeting, book a meeting, fam bam. Okay. So the moment they say, I need to think about it, you've already dropped price. The difference between an obstacle and an objection is on what side of price drop is it. Before price drop, you can argue with them because they're not disagreeing with you, you're disagreeing with them, and you're on the same side of the table as a consultant and an educator. After you drop price, now you're a sales guy and you're adversarial. And nothing you can say is going to help the situation. They have to say it. So something like that, totally understand. Didn't expect you to make this big of a decision today. When were you thinking of getting back to me? Okay. Then invent a reason for them to set an appointment, invent a reason for them to show up. And if you're a real closer, you're going to introduce some scarcity in order to get a micro commitment out of these guys. Because, for example, my favorite thing to do is say, listen, between now and that appointment, I have X number of sales meetings available or sales meetings going. And I would be shocked if my measure meeting that I'm offering you is still available. So why don't we swap some paperwork? We'll put down a $500 refundable deposit. You and the missus or whomever it needs to be involved in the decision, talk it out. If you don't want to move forward for whatever reason, I'll give you the check back. Fair enough? So you make it a risk-free micro commitment. Why do we want to do that? Psychology. Human beings write checks to solve problems. Okay, guys? They write checks to solve problems. And so by getting them to sign, to get, even though it's refundable, getting them to sign over that micro commitment, that refundable $500, leading to a 4 to 5 figure design retainer, 80% of the time, they're going to come back and do the deal. Why? Because in their mind, they already solved the problem. Okay. And then reinforce the decision. That's last. Okay. People decide whether or not to refer you to their friends or do business with you, according to a study done by Harvard Business, within the first 72 hours of signing a contract with you. So wow them. Handwritten card, maybe a personalized video from the owner or the sales guy or the designer picking up on the project, whatever the next step is, right? Maybe send them, if you're really slick, like my man, Cody Wilkerson out of Red Barn Design Build, also in St. Louis, he sends a gift basket with a mug and like some coffee and the job schedule for design and the job schedule for build and the task and purpose for each step and a handwritten note and a gift card to go out to dinner to celebrate the decision. And the coffee mug is to he also adds a throw blanket in there for them to curl up and start doing their homework. It's really slick. It's a really great idea. I love it. So now guys, phase 3, we got to grow the business. So we're getting our first set, we're using closer, we're getting referrals. Now we need to grow the business. Okay. And so after we get this handyman business up and cash flowing us about 20 to 40K a month of gross profit, because that $1,500 is going to turn 60 to 80 grand of sales. So now we can turn on our marketing for our design build firm, just targeting additions and ADUs. Why? Because right now interest rates are at what, 7% for a mortgage, maybe 8 points, right? So what's happening is the middle class that were buying like kitchen and bath remodels, they're not doing full projects anymore. They're doing partial scope handyman level projects, which is why our handyman business is going to crush. And the wealthy, instead of the wealthy purchasing a new property when they need it, they're taking their existing one and making it their dream house. Again, because they don't want to trade out of their 2, maybe 3% mortgage and get behind a 7% mortgage when the cost of housing has basically gone up triple, right? So doing additions and ADUs is an absolute steal for these financially qualified top 1% people. And they're also bigger tickets. So we're going to spend the same amount of dollars in marketing, whether we're going for a 1-day rebath or a $500,000 addition. That's just been my experience the last 15 years. And so expect it to take 30 to 45 days from receiving a lead to selling a design agreement. We're going to structure them as a retainer, targeting 5 to 8% of the build price, charging $200 to $250 an hour on the retainer, paying a recruited A-level 1099 designer $100 to $150. This way, we get our credit card dollars back before the second monthly payment and turn a profit, allowing us to make even more money, yes, but to market even harder to get more contracts, which allow us to feed a squad of A-level interior designers who are also doing marketing that are passing projects back to us. This is how we create a monopoly, guys. And when we sell our build contracts 90 days later at the end of design, we'll structure the draws in such a way that at the beginning of each trade, we're targeting about 51% collected before demo starts and 80% collected before mechanical, electrical, and HVAC start at a 40% gross profit. And so we're targeting probably 2 additions to go into build with this first cohort, right? At the same time, that's representing at least $550,000 of sales, which would be at least $200K of gross profit, which by the time demo starts, we've already collected $80K gross profit sitting in our account at the start of demo, right? Which completely de-risks and paying for an A-level project manager. In fact, that's his annual compensation for a year, sitting right there. We're sitting good. We're going to get at least 4 more cohorts out of this guy. So representing about 2.5 million in sales built. And so by the time mechanical, electrical, and plumbing starts, we'll have collected enough revenue to also pay for the entire job. You know, trades, material, project managers, sales commissions. This completely de-risks the entire deal because we subcontract everything. And so I expect we'll spend about $2K of advertising to win a single addition or ADU contract worth at least 270 grand at a 40% margin. Fellas, that's like betting $2,000 to win $108,000 on a lock, right? That's a 54x return on our money. That's even better than smuggling cocaine without the prison risk. Now this gets even better because every deal we sign a design agreement on, we take that design to an established rock star A-level designer who's also spending money on marketing, looking to set up a new relationship. And ideally we want 3 to 5 of these relationships because each one of these relationships, guys, is going to be worth about $1 million of work in a year in referrals back to us because of the law of reciprocity. Because unlike the other bonehead contractors who are going around saying, I build with quality, you should work with me, we're saying, hey, we got this project we'd love to partner with you on. And by the way, here's our process to ensure a perfect experience for the homeowner in design and a perfect experience for them in build. And if you'd like to talk about working together on your jobs, I'm happy to be your guy. Totally different conversation. And for example, just to give you an idea of what you can expect from this process, my partner, Kyle Bridgen of NSS Home in Tacoma, spent $8,000 in advertising over 6 months and picked up 4 additions at an average ticket of $350,000. Guys, that's a $1.4 million setup. Then he used each addition to leverage a new JV agreement with a new designer who's doing her own marketing, which in turn has already brought Kyle over 2 million in referrals across 3 projects. And at this pace, in the next 6 months, he'll have bagged $4 million in referrals, 2.8 million in projects from advertising, all at a 40% gross margin, which equals 2.72 million in profit from just 32K in advertising. And so guys, with the system though, you're going to plateau pretty quickly. There are only 20 working days in the month, and I don't recommend meeting more than 1 referral partner because daily you have a business to run. So around your 20th referral partner, you'll typically see about 5 million in business, assuming you're managing all of the work and taking the sales calls. So the first thing I'm going to do around day 60 is to promote my lead handyman to project manager because he knows my system from the handyman business. And I'll have about 40K of gross profit stacked from the handyman by day 60. And that PM will unlock 600K of design build deals I'll sell under the design build brand. And I'll recruit his replacement with the same Indeed ad if the helper I hired isn't ready to promote. Then I'll hire my first project director so I can run the famous, Remodel Commander PDPM system, where the PD sells the jobs and manages the job through design and manages the customer through build, allowing the PM and the trades to work without distraction from the homeowner. And that PD I'll hire on a 10% gross profit and make his KPI that he must execute one face-to-face meeting with a designer or realtor, allowing me to double our referral base. And this will allow us to hit 4 million by end of year one. Then we'll do 7 to 8 million in year two, where I can afford to hire somebody on my level to be the CEO, and I'll go back to spearfishing for tuna off my boat in Puerto Rico. So here's the timeline, guys. Day one, sell that damn truck. Day two, turn on Indeed ads, hire an outsourcer to build a handyman website and a design build website. Day three, I'll get an LLC. Now, because I'm in a rush, I'm going to turn on email looking for a remodeler who wants to sell his business, or a design build general contractor that's out of market that wants to partner with me in this market so I can borrow his brand and his track record and his GC license so I can just get going like that. I'll buy him out later. And then day four, I'll get the insurance going. And then day five, I'll turn on the Indeed ads. And days 6 through 7, I'm going to cruise the job sites across the city on the weekend looking for drywallers, because they have to work with almost every other trade. And if they're working on a Saturday, they're after it. And I can recruit those guys and leverage them for referrals to the other trades. And then on day 8, we'll have the websites done. I'll turn on I'll turn on my targeting, my social outbound of email, targeting realtors and designers to get business in the door. Day 9 is when I'm going to turn on Google Local Services. I'm going to get the ad campaign set up. That takes about 4 to 5 days to do. Day 14, with that set up, I'm going to put $1,200 behind it. Days 15 through 30, I'm going to sell my ass off. Then day 31, I'll hire a handyman team. I'll recruit 2 more. By day 32 through 60, I will have stacked about 30 to 45K of gross profit from the handyman business. I'll continue to work with designers and realtors for referrals. The realtors are cool because they're going to refer me not only design build business, but also handyman business through their inspection reports. I'll join the HBA to get referrals to more subcontractors. I'll network with higher level custom home builders to pick up, for example, their deck building business or their basement finishing business for the handyman company, or their addition business from their current client base. Most custom home builders don't want to mess with an addition. It's too structurally complex for them. Then I'll turn on Facebook ads and target only additions and ADUs. Okay, so day 90, about 30 to 60 days later, I'll have sold 2 additions for collectively about 600K, on an average 300K ticket. And with those additions design contracts, I'll pick up 2 different design and referral relationships. Day 90 through 180, I'll hire and train my very first sales guy, the project director. Day 180, that's when I expect to put 600K in the build. I'll hire my PM then. I'll stack 120K total of gross profit from the handyman business. I'll collect 51% of my of the revenue of my design build jobs. I'll recognize at least 122K gross profit from the design build business. And at that point, that's when I'm going to ramp marketing, hire the second project director, and target hiring my second project manager at day 270, when that second enormous cohort of about 1.2 to maybe 1.8, I'm going to target 2 million, goes into design or goes into build. And then by day 365, we'll have seen 500K from our handyman at a 55% gross profit. We'll see $2 million from design build at 40% gross profit. We're targeting at least 300K net after taxes on 2.5 million in sales, starting with just a truck and $100. And any business broker out there is gonna value our business somewhere between 1.2 and 1.5 million on the open market. Again, just off of, get rid of my truck that I don't need and $100. And so guys, now that you know exactly how I would start a remodeling business, watch this video here, okay, to learn how we're going to generate those remodel deals with zero advertising dollars using what we call social outbound. Again, link's right up there. It's my last video. All right. Thanks, guys.